get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I want to welcome you back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts Tyler Reed, and Sean Evans.
This week, listener Brandon and submit us the challenge to find the best song with the lick.
So, Tyler, for those who may not know, can you describe the lick?
Well, Taylor, Wikipedia says, the lick is a commonly used jazz lick, a stock musical pattern, regarded as the most famous jazz cliché ever. It has been popularized as easily adaptable into all keys and modes and is heard in many famous pieces, including many non-jazz pieces.
So I knew that the lick existed before we got this challenge, but I didn't really know what it was. It was just one of these things I'd heard about on music Twitter and in various places on Reddit. Were you guys aware of this before we got the challenge?
No.
No idea.
I might have heard it in something before, but I never would have called it out. Oh, there's a lick. That's hilarious. I would have just been like, oh, that's jazz. I'm turning this off now.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up an interesting point because it's most commonly referred to in jazz, but we found a lot of really diverse uses of the lick this week, and we'll link in the show notes to a really great Facebook page that is collecting uses of the lick in modern popular music. I was really surprised at how many places this showed up and how many slight variations there were.
Yeah, one of my B-sides was Oi Como Va, and you're like, it's barely there. It's a super variation of it, and I think a lot of people actually end up kind of doing just slight nods to it, I think more so than directly ripping it.
Yeah, the Wikipedia article says that the lick is commonly used for comedic effect and is such a cliche that musicians tend to use it as kind of an inside joke. And I kind of get that impression based on the examples that we found this week. Some of the older examples, like 40s, 50s, 60s, seem genuine, but once you get towards the 90s and the 2000s, it does kind of seem like everywhere you're seeing the lick, they're making kind of a cheeky reference. Did you guys get that feeling too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the musical equivalent of the Wilhelm scream.
That's the truth. It really is. No, Taylor, you're right. It felt like it was dropped in a lot in modern music, when we saw that first video. Or what was that video that was on YouTube? It basically has all of these licks put in
They're
a different...
just stacked up.
Yeah,
one right on top of each other. No break at all.
Right. It seems so serious when I watched that. And then the song that I picked, it's clearly just a music meme.
Yeah, I found a lot of that, sampled versions of the lick being used in things as just kind of a little wink or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, this was a really interesting challenge because it also kind of pushed us to look at the history of this thing. And when you go back and look at its use in improvised jazz solos, it's kind of cool to see this little 2-bar phrase that is used in a bunch of different styles by a bunch of different people on different instruments doing improv. I found a really great video that I'll link in the show notes that has just a bunch of improvised solos that include the lick in it.
Oh, you still know how to play this piano on piano? And next time you go to a Guitar Center, just go up to every keyboard and play it all the way down. It's oh yeah, do you have this one, the Roland XK91 or something? And then just da 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 da. Be nah, next, come here, play this one, and then just see who starts looking up. It starts cracking up, laughing, oh my god, this kid.
No stairway, no lick.
Right.
That's kind of funny because on Mabim Bam and Griffin really likes to do the Rugrats. Sort of intro for whatever he's trying to make a funny piano meme. Just always goes for that, and he has it on the choir setting. So just like that.
Well, so why don't we dive into some picks? Who wants to go first this week?
I think Taylor should go first.
Yeah, let's have you go first.
I can go first. I think mine is probably the most straightforward example of the lick. This is What More Can I Say by Gramatik. this is an instrumental kind of trip hop beat that prominently features the lick over and over and over again. The first instance of it is at the 33-second mark, and it just kind of continues from there. I actually had this album in my iTunes library and listened to this track a lot when I was just kind of like driving around town or doing housework, and didn't realize that this was the lick. Like, I knew the lick existed, but I didn't know what it sounded like. And as soon as I was looking for examples, this one came up, and I was like, oh, well, I have to pick it. It's the only like prominent example in my library of a song that I listen to a lot that has it. It's a simple little trip hop beat. There's some drums, there's a jazz guitar solo. There's not a lot going on here, but it sounds pleasant, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who you think you are, Taylor, but I think you stole my chill beat. What's wrong with you?
I know how much you love your lo-fi chill beats and hip-hop to study to.
I'm the chill man. You're not allowed. Get off my porch, kid.
See, I was actually going to say that without looking at the name when I first, who put this on the Slack. I looked at it and I was like, man, Tyler's just killing this. He's just riding this
Going
one all the way
in.
out. And, no, then it was Taylor and I was like, wow.
I chill sometimes. Not often, but sometimes.
He's capable of chilling. He chills.
Taylor
I have been
specifically
known to
prefers
chill.
them not to be lo-fi. Taylor likes hi-fi chill beats.
Yeah.
That's correct. As lush and orchestral as I can get them.
No fuzz.
So I like that the lick, it's so funny that you can just call it that the lick wasn't hidden in this song, that it plays like a very prominent role. Because I feel like a lot of the songs that I listened to just had little glimpses of the lick, and with this one, it's like right off the bat. You don't have to wait to hear it. There it is. It's the lick.
Yeah, I love just how prominently it's featured. Like, there's no apologies whatsoever. I mean, it's a super cool lick. So, I mean, I love that it's totally used more than once. Because, I mean, definitely Sean's and I song are really just more like musical memes. So I think he did a good job of, picking a song that actually used it.
Yeah, it really leans into it.
Yeah. I wonder if that's intentional, though. Like, how do you think this person knows?
I think so. I mean, this is a pretty well-known and prolific beat maker. I figure he probably knows what he's doing here.
How did you even find this album?
I don't remember. Somebody recommended it to me specifically. Like, they said, listen to SB number 2 by Grammatic. I don't remember who it was. I'm sure they'll tweet at me after this episode goes up, because I'm sure it was one of our music nerd friends that listens to the show. But whoever you are, I'm sorry. I do really like this album. I just don't remember who recommended it.
Thanks, Seth.
It's
also,
probably
sorry,
Seth.
I think that's the only way you could ever truly find out about beat albums is just through like a nondescript friend. It's just like, hey man, you should listen to this.
I mean, it's either that or like a Wikipedia rabbit hole,
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like a nondescript friend subreddit. Good choice though.
What a tasty track.
Well, Tyler, what tasty track do you have for us this week?
This week I chose Another Year by Animals as Leaders. Animals as Leaders, gent pioneers, progressive metal monoliths. I actually don't really listen to them that much, honestly. But this was on the Facebook feed of the lick, and I saw it and I was like, well, let's give this a try. How bad could it be? And I think also I had actually asked Brandon to kind of throw me an idea for like a good challenge, and he suggested this, and he said this was his favorite song. I was like, you know what? This is the best song with the lick. It's real tight. Because, I mean, this is pretty out of the wheelhouse of Animals as Leaders. Usually they're much, 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 much heavier than this. This is like a contemporary jazz fusion track almost. Yeah, so...
I feel like this is almost inoffensive dinner music.
Right. This is elevator gent. So, I mean...
Yeah, when you said that this was a jazz metal band, I did not hear that in this track at all. I've never listened to anything else from them.
Yeah, this is, you should listen to the other stuff. It's far more intense. But no, I thought I think I ended up choosing this one just because it was kind of out of their style, and it felt like a modern kind of contemporary jazz take on, a jazz meme. So I was like, that seems good enough.
Did you read any of the comments under the video?
I really should. I don't know why I didn't.
Most like comment, it's got a marker at 28 seconds in all capital letters. It's the lick!
I do. That's actually how I felt about the use of the lick in this song. Because it's 28 seconds into a 3-minute and 50-second long song. And like you said, it is kind of like citing a musical meme here, right? But it's still prominent. I mean, it's part of the first guitar solo on the track. And I like that it's just like the second or third bar of the guitar solo. And then it goes from there into the rest of the solo. It's a nice little nod. It's very tasteful. In fact, that's kind of the word that I would use to describe this song on the whole. I feel like it's just very tasteful. Like, it's mixed really well. I feel like there's a lot of balance in the instrumentation where you can hear all of the parts and they get to trade what instrument is playing the melody at different points. You don't really get that like big, heavy, grindy metal guitar until 2:50. And so the first 2.5 minutes of this are really just kind of, like you said, pleasant contemporary jazz. And even when it gets heavy, the grindy, like almost grindcore guitars don't take over the mix, which is something that I really dislike about that style of music. Like, I can still hear all of the other instruments over that guitar part, which is why I actually really enjoyed this song. Like, I want to learn more about this band. This sounds really, really cool.
There's a lot of tapping, which I don't have any problem with. But he plays, an 8-string guitar, and he barely ever picks. It's really just a lot of tapping. A lot heavier. Not a complaint. You just got to be in the mood for it's like Sleep Makes Waves kind of sound and stuff. Like a lot more like borderline prog stuff.
And that's fine. I mean, I went through a Between the Buried and Me phase just like everybody else on this podcast, so
they are definitely not Between the Buried and Me.
Not at all.
They're more like Dream Theater.
I meant more from the prog side of things, but I get where you're coming from.
Okay.
This is actually...
Get it right.
This kind of style is actually getting fairly popular, I would say. It's kind of almost more math rock than math metal.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a few different artists that I follow. I think what are they called? And it's a band called Standards that does this, and I think it's even kind of seeping into pop punk a little bit, where they're doing this. I don't know the technique, but it's probably what Sean was saying, was where it's a lot of tapping.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to identify because I know literally nothing about guitar, but yeah, so like it's been gotten pretty popular, it feels like, recently.
Now that you mentioned that, I do recognize a little bit of that in some of the pop punk breakdowns that I've heard in recent years on things like Neck Deep and Real Friends, like some of the heavier pop punk stuff. Like, you wouldn't hear that on like a Front Bottoms record, right? But when you start edging closer to a metal influence, yeah, I can see how this would play into that. Sean, your thoughts?
Solid pick. Very, very good use of the lick. I think as I listen to the song more, you really get a feeling of all the different uses of the lick and how awesome of instrumentalists these guys really are. And sometimes when I think about prog, what makes it great and what also makes me not like it that much is it really almost seems like the bebop of metal. You know, like it's a little bit, or like the bluegrass to folk. Like it's almost kind of like comes above that genre and is its own thing with, in some respects. Like it's like almost overly techniqued and overstyled and everything that is to the next level. And I think that's what makes the lick really work with it, because it is that, you know, like it doesn't sound like everything else that's in the genre, as we'll find out from my pick. But yeah, no, this is an awesome pick.
I've tried to listen to these kind of bands before, and it's probably why I never really gave Animals as Leaders a fair shot, because you're right, it's so technical. There's so much going on all the time. And it's like, you listen to an entire album of this, and you're like, I need LaCroix music after this. Like, I need less technical. I need just barely anything, because you're right, it just goes and goes and goes. There's never a refrain from just this frantic guitar work, which is, I guess, why they, you know, it's the substitute of vocalist, right? That's usually what that is supposed to do.
All right, Sean. Well, let's bring it on home with your pick. What do you have here?
So this week, in a little twist of events, I picked a song called Graveless by Periphery. So basically, I wanted to find the most out there metal version of the lick, which kind of almost doesn't work for me anymore after having talked about your guys' picks, because mine's very, like I said, it's very memey and not that use of the lick. I think you actually have to get through almost a little over half of my song before you hear one version of the lick. Like, just like, boom, there it is. And, but this is very, my running playlist style. So I don't mind the song at all. Just squeaking a little lick there. But what do you guys think?
It's very early high school, Sean. I will say that.
I don't judge your life.
You know what? We all listen to Tool together, so we're all going to hell. That's fine.
Hey, I was not a part of that. Don't lump me into that.
All right.
I listened to plenty of Mars Volta, but never Tool.
Your hands are dirty too, Taylor. I'm sure we got some dirt on you somewhere.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
I mean, come on.
It's worse.
But no, you're right. This is kind of a one-off kind of. The lick really feels almost like an afterthought. They're like, let's just throw it in there, like.
If you didn't listen to the song, Tyler just
that's it.
Summarized it in its entirety with that little rendition there. You should have to pay rights for that, bud. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to report you.
Oh no, I'm gonna go to the music police. Gonna go to jail, music jail.
Interestingly, both Periphery and Animals as Leaders are under the same record label.
That doesn't surprise me that much.
Don't know if you noticed that.
Makes sense.
This song didn't do much for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, God. Do you have your hater shades? Just put them on. I think this is the first time.
I think this is the first time I'm putting on my hater shades. When I talked in Tyler's song about a balanced mix where I can hear all of the instruments and I have a real strong sense of what's going on in the song, this is the opposite of that. The lead guitar player in this band is great. And the vocals are pretty good. Like, it's not the style of metal vocals that I would prefer, but they're fine. The problem is, like, the grinding rhythm guitar is just so high in the mix that I feel like I can't hear anything else. Except for the 2 seconds where they play the lick, when all of a sudden, mysteriously, everything is gone except the drums, the bass, and the lick guitar for 2 bars, and then we're back to grindy, grind. And I'm just like, I see what you're doing here, but you're right. Like, it's very memey, and I don't know. This is not a style of music that I particularly get along with to begin with, so, like, I'm trying to, like, keep that bias out of it, but there's something about the production of this song in particular that it just, like, it's a little nails on a chalkboard for me.
Not that it helps, but this was made in 2014.
That doesn't help.
This is musically ancient.
Okay, so it's a little bit dated, but the challenge was to look for the lick, not pick the best metal song to get Taylor to listen to metal, okay?
That's true.
If your goal was to find the most metal usage of the lick, I think you succeeded.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just don't think it's that good of a song.
Listen, the challenge wasn't to find a good song, it was to find an interesting song.
I kind of thought it was
with the lick in it,
that we
and
always
I found
had to
an
pick at least a
song
good song.
with the lick
Maybe not
in
a
it.
great song, but...
No, there were 2 good songs already. What I'm saying is I picked a song that had the lick in it.
Graveless by Periphery remains a song with the lick in it.
Thanks for your outstanding vote of confidence. So now it's time for notable B-sides, and these were songs that were so close to making it but didn't quite make the cut. Does anybody have some notable B-sides with the lick in it?
I only had 2, and I didn't pick them because the lick is not always in them. So their songs...
Then you couldn't have it in here, but the lick's not in it. That's the requirement of the challenge.
That's why they weren't my main pick, they're my B-sides, because there are live recordings of both of these songs that feature the lick, like more than one live recording. So A La Mode by Art Blakey and his Jazz Messengers is kind of my old school pick. And then Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd often includes the lick in David Gilmour's guitar solo, but the version that's on the album Wish You Were Here does not. So I couldn't pick it.
I don't have any.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to done this one. It was like...
I don't really, I think I might have listened to 3 songs with, 3 songs, and that was it.
Yeah, this was a hard one. I think this is probably the most challenging challenge we've had so far.
It's almost like maybe we should just make a separate Spotify playlist that just has all the examples of the lick, because that would have been helpful to me.
I think we'll probably do some research before this episode goes up and put something in the show notes. I'm certain someone has already built that.
I mean, to be fair, you have to search for the lick on Spotify, which is not exactly like very, very helpful, or I feel like I looked at like a bunch of Rolling Stones playlists.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the listeners will have more examples as well. And so, Tyler, if people want to tweet suggestions for your The Lick mega playlist, where can they send those?
Hey everybody, you can find my design and illustration work at rudepets.club, and you can find me on the socials as rudepetsclub on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to headbang with you to some mid-2010s metal, where can they do that?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TellySean.
And if you think you have a song that can convince me to like metal, you can tweet it at me at TC Olmstead. If you like what we do here at No Repeat, we would love it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get the show. If you want to submit a challenge, you can tweet those to us at No Repeat Pod or email them to norepeatpod@gmail.com. Getting low on challenges, folks. We need some new ideas. Other than that, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back next week with 3 more songs on another episode of No Repeat.